In Inside, we focus on a problem plaguing countries around the world: drug trafficking. The most recent numbers from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime show the impact of illicit drugs worldwide. In a 2014 report, the office says about 5% of the world's population used illicit drugs in the past year. That's among people between the ages of 15 and 64 years old. And opiates are the cause of most disease and drug-related deaths. And nearly 50% of illicit drug users around the world are in Asia. Recently, 4 nations in Asia joined forces in a pilot project. The idea is to share intelligence and plan more effective strategies to counter drug smuggling. And the target, the Golden Triangle, a region infamous for the trade. CCTV's Tony Cheng traveled to northern Thailand to see how the operations work. He joins us now live from Bangkok with more. Tony.
Thanks very much, Elaine. Yes, when you hear about the Golden Triangle, you think about somewhere that's synonymous with the opium trade of the 50s, the 60s, even the 70s, but not something that's really a very modern problem. You go there are lots of tourist buses, there are lots of people who've heard about it, but don't imagine it's still very much part of that trade. However, according to the United Nations, it is still part of a huge trade. There are traditional opiates that are still grown in the region, but also increasingly methamphetamines and other artificial drugs. And it's all centered in this very small triangle between 3 countries: Burma, Thailand, and Laos.
The sun rises over the Kok River, one of the tributaries of the Mekong. These are the waterways that have harbored smugglers for decades, evading capture and control by skipping across the banks of the river in the lawless area known as the Golden Triangle.
Well, the Golden Triangle remains an enormous supplier of illicit drugs into this region, into China and into Southeast Asia.
It was here on the 5th of October 2011 that 13 Chinese sailors were brutally murdered after smugglers seized their boats to transport methamphetamine. In response to public outrage, the 4 nations that border the area, Myanmar, Laos, China and Thailand, pledged to cooperate and crack down on the drug traffickers. 4 years later, this is the result: the Safe Mekong Coordination Center in Chiang Mai. Inside, representatives of the 4 countries share intelligence on the known movements of narcotics in the region. It's a rare example of law enforcement agencies cooperating with each other in a way they've rarely done in the past. And leading the briefing, 2 senior members of Thailand's Office of Narcotics Control, who tell me why controlling the river is key to stopping the supply.
As we have cracked down on traffickers using routes on land to smuggle drugs, they have started using the river more, and that is why we started this project.
On the Mekong itself, patrols have been stepped up too. Although each nation remains in control of their own territory, the increase in cooperation could yield major results.
This is a great opportunity for the Narcotics Control Board to share information with the security forces and get better results.
And Thailand's commitment to taking on the smugglers is apparent on the water too.
We're now out on patrol heading into the Golden Triangle with the Thai security forces. And you can see the ship is very heavily armed in case it encounters armed drug smugglers. This is exactly the type of cooperation. They say that it's much easier now. They've got cooperation between Myanmar, Laos, Thailand and China. And this larger ship is being supported by 2 smaller ones able to nip across between the banks of the Mekong.
The boats surround a small Lao fishing craft. The gunboat hangs back as the 2 smaller vessels go in closer for a stop and search. The show of force is impressive, but this is one of the most well-established drug smuggling routes in the world.
The economy of the Golden Triangle has been a drug economy for decades, and it will take a long period of time and a very large plan of action, integrated plan of action involving international assistance providers, the countries themselves and their neighbors, to ensure that that area has that alternate economy necessary to replace that long-running, decades-long-running economy.
But regional cooperation is certainly a vital first step. And the smugglers who've lurked in the muddy waters of the Golden Triangle may now have to find somewhere new to hide.
Well, some of the law enforcement officers I spoke to said they thought they could see results from this cooperation project in the next couple of weeks. But I don't think anyone's under any illusions that this is a massive problem. The Golden Triangle remains at the center of a multi-billion-dollar illegal narcotics trade, and shutting it down is going to take quite some time.
All right, CCTV's Tony Cheng live for us in Bangkok.